is turning. This is We Have
good.
Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, there's a lot of apocryphal knowledge about love. You know,
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of, we pass down a lot
many
of
splendored thing.
Yeah, we pass down a lot of adages and things that we know because Jeff, you can't quantify love. It's the heart.
Can't buy me love.
You can't buy me love. The heart wants what it wants.
Yeah.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Mm-hmm.
Check your dog for heartworms. All the things they say
about all the things that we always pass down to our children.
Yeah, about love and hearts. We know that when somebody's heart is removed from them, they become a heartless. But then there's also their soul that becomes a nobody, and then you need a keyblade to bring them all back together. That's something we all know, and that makes sense to all of us.
That's when we're inside the kingdom of all the.
That's
hearts,
the
right?
true kingdom of the heart, Jeff. One of the things that we are always told is that opposites attract.
Oh, I remember when Paula Abdul gave me that very same bit of advice.
That's right. MC Skat Cat, PhD.
MC Skat Cat. Yeah.
Doctor of the Heart. Doctors of the Heart. Paula Abdul and MC Skat Cat. We got to make sure that we give Paula Abdul just as much credit for that as MC Skat Cat, because we cannot remove the work of women in STEM. Paula Abdul co-wrote that study.
I don't know. Straight up. Now tell me, do you really think that she did?
I don't. Okay. Kids, ask your parents what MC Skat Cat is, but Jeff, MC Skat Cat only existed for that song.
Do you think there was a plan for MC Skat Cat, the MC Skat Cat cinematic universe? Do you think they were planning for more Skat Cat appearances? Like what made Paula go, you know what I need? You know what this musical video needs? I think it was a talking rapping cat. It was a time when we wanted to impress upon our children various lessons, like opposites attract, for example.
Sure.
We returned to educated, animated, anthropomorphized creatures. You know, the McGruff the crime dogs of the world. Your Trix Rabbit, you know,
sure.
to tell that the tricks are indeed for kids.
Yeah,
yes.
All of these things. No, the 80s loved...
MC Skat Cat makes sense.
The 80s and 90s loved animated mascots.
Yes.
An animated mascot was the most important thing you could have in the 80s or 90s. But I want, like...
Even if you're a pop star.
You don't create a fully animated character and name it. And just to use it once, there must have been a plan.
Oh, man. Would we need to have an investigative podcast simply about MC Skat Cat and the Skat Cat cultural footprint?
I'll do it. I'll do an episode of this show about MC Skat Cat. Honestly, it's one of those things that I've wondered about my whole life, but I haven't wondered about it so much that I care to look into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One
of those little things where every time it comes up, I go, that bugs me. And then I forget about it because it doesn't really bug me.
Do you think that Paula doesn't want to talk about it? You know, like, you think if we like got Paula in a room or like, listen, we have some questions. She's like, oh, anything. And you're like, okay, well, I want to talk about MC Skat Cat. She's like, anything but that.
She's like, I will talk to you about my drug use before I talk about MC Skat Cat. I will talk to you about anything before I talk to you about that motherfucker. How much money do you think, like, do you think it was just like they had, I would imagine that this was one of those things where in the 90s in particular, there was a whole deal where pop stars and people who played music that were completely like antithetical to hip hop, really. just like the weirdest people who played like folk rock and stuff, would just have somebody come on and just do a hip hop verse just to like, here it is. Here's the hip hop verse. And it wouldn't be like we're bringing in a real artist to collaborate with us. It was like a studio guy that they would never credit and never like talk about. And they'd be like, and here is the hip hop verse that the record company wanted me to put in. And I refuse to get a real artist or credit them or share credit with them. And here they are. And I paid them nothing. Do you think it was just, there was so much of that kind of artist on the track that they were like, listen, if we're going to do a video for this song, somebody needs to be like, Paula, there's just too much of it. Somebody needs to be doing it.
There's just too much of it,
and it's cheaper.
we can't cover this with B-roll.
It's
Paula.
cheaper to just animate a cat than to pay a human.
I got this whole staff of slave labor ready to draw whatever we want.
Yeah, let's send this off. Let's send this overseas to whatever animation studio is doing like the low budget commercial animation right now. Let's get you a Skat Cat.
Take a break from animating those He-Man episodes.
Yeah.
And get on the Skat Cat thing so we don't have to pay a human being.
I feel like that's got to be part of the story. And I am cynical about stuff like this, but I do feel like that has to be. I think that was the cynical business part of the story. And I think some creative people genuinely thought that they could take MC Skat Cat somewhere when they created him.
There's an alternate universe where MC Skat Cat became huge. You know, like MC Skat Cat cereal, MC Skat Cat pajamas.
Let me tell you,
there's an alternate universe where that is happening.
I was definitely in elementary school at the time. And I will tell you what. I was waiting for the next Skat Cat track to drop. I was waiting for Skat Cat to drop the Fire mixtape. I was like, where is the next Skat Cat? Paula Abdul, I was like, yeah, cool, fine. I was like, we need to know what's next for Skat Cat.
Yeah.
Where is he? Skat Cat came into my life. I was obsessed. I wanted to know everything about MC Skat Cat. And then he simply disappeared. And I'm worried that there's like a behind the music about MC Skat Cat where he turned to drugs, he fell in with the wrong crowd,
So I found the MC Skat Cat Wikipedia page.
Great. Not the MC Skat Cat fan wiki. That's just an entire wiki about MC Skat Cat, but a Wikipedia page about MC Skat Cat.
Yeah.
All right.
MC Skat Cat's rap was written and performed by Derek Stevens. Although Romany Malco, who did the majority of writing for MC Skat Cat and the Stray Mob album, he has his own album, MC Skat Cat and the Stray Mob.
There is an
it's
album.
Often mistakenly credited for being the voice. A story perpetrated by Abdul herself. Ooh, she was.
Whoa!
Clearly, there's some drama here.
I don't know. There's some drama or that if Paula Abdul just didn't care.
So 1991, The Adventures of MC Skat Cat and the Stray Mob was released. Paula Abdul made an appearance in the music video for the only single, Skat Strut. The single peaked at number 80 on the Billboard's Top 100.
Now, wow.
MC Skat Cat also featured in Yakety Yak Take It Back, an all-star public service music video produced by Warner Brothers. Dude, it's totally McGruff the Crime Dog.
They really did. They really did try to make something of it. I love it. Now, Romany Malco, Jeff, the person, the gentleman who wrote all these lyrics, you might know as Jay from the 40-year-old version. This guy has been a character. This guy's been in everything. He's been a working actor for years.
Yes.
He's been in everything. He was in Weeds. He was Conrad in Weeds.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
This guy does it all. Romany Malco, dude.
Acting. Yeah. He was in a movie called The Chateau that I really enjoyed. It's just him and somebody else. I can't remember who it is, but yeah. Blades of Glory, Baby Mama, Love Guru.
You know this guy. You know this guy.
Yeah, you know this guy.
And he was MC Skat Cat.
Wow.
Damn.
Anyway, so love, is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about love, Jeff, and we're talking about opposites attracting. This is a science podcast. This is an award-winning science show. How do you feel about the old adage, the folksy knowledge that opposites attract?
I actually have put some stock into this notion, not in the sense of, opposites attract, but I think we've sort of touched at this topic before. This notion of, how we, I think, offload some of our mental load to our long-term partners. Mm-hmm. I think that goes hand in hand with my intuitions about this notion that I'm sort of attracted to someone that fills in the gaps of my own shortcomings.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it's sort of opposites. Like, I think my wife is good at a lot of things I'm not good at. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of the attraction subconsciously, but I think that's part of the attraction is you want someone that sort of completes you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that sort of thing where it's like, I'm good at this, but I'm good at thing one, but I'm bad at thing two. You're great at thing two, but bad at thing one.
Right.
And so, but I don't know. Is that the same as opposites attracting though?
I don't know. That's what I equate it to in my head. So maybe I'm wrong. How do you define opposites attracting?
I don't know. I guess when I think about opposites attract, I think about I think about those manic pixie dream girl movies. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think about, there's this straight laced guy who doesn't know how to dream, and like, here comes the whimsical. He just know how to dream, and he doesn't know how to laugh. And here comes the whimsical woman who's going to teach him how to stand on a table when you're not allowed to.
Cast light in his darkness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, hey, have you ever yelled in public? No, you can't yell in public. That's crazy. Well, give it a shot. Yell in public. No, I couldn't. And then at the end, he yells in public. He says, wait, come back. Yes. I need you.
He really did it. He really yelled. And then she turns and looks with a gleam in her eye. Yeah.
I think about that sort of thing, and that I hate. But but I do think there could be something to it. I don't know. I think with a lot of couples I know there's sort of like this apocryphal knowledge where everybody knows, like, in a couple there's the one that's like, oh, that's the outgoing extroverted one who's going to do all the talking and like really funny, and then the other one sits back and is just kind of like, yeah, look at my funny partner, stuff like that.
Well, in the sense that I would not be able to handle another me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to date, marry, be romantic with me. I'm insufferable. No, I don't understand how anybody can handle me.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for the opposite of me.
You wouldn't have sex with a clone of yourself?
I mean, I would 100% do that.
Yeah.
But do you think that's more for the?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that's just more for the experience?
More for the experience, yeah. Like,
just for the story?
Oh, not just for the story. There's, I read the Time Traveler's Wife.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in the Time Traveler's Life where he like meets himself younger, and he's like, well, you know what you have to do. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I get it. Cause later on I'll get it. So it's like, yeah.
It's deterministic, really. You have no choice. If there's a clone of yourself or yourself from another time, you have to have sex with them.
Yes.
Because it's just destiny.
It is. It's destiny. You have to see if the time stream can handle your time stream.
Good night, everybody. So I think there might be something to opposites attract. I don't know. My gut tells me that it's more the things that we have in common that would keep a relationship going, even if opposites do kind of initially attract. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, the term opposite is sort of an absolute, right? And I don't believe that absolutely, like every single thing about you is the opposite in the other person. And therefore that's why you're attracted. I think there's a lot of the opposite of your personality, but you also have to share some common, touchstones. I think that you can't be complete opposites, right?
No. Although there are a lot of movies that tell us, hey,
yeah,
maybe you get drunk in Vegas. You wake up married to somebody. You go,
yes.
Oh no, we're total opposites. But then a series of mishaps happen on your way to get it annulled, and you find out, hey, you really were perfect for each other.
If movies don't tell us the truth, who does?
Who does? Hey,
who does?
Listen, we need to end these strikes. We need to tell these truths. Movies. We need to tell these truths. We need to bring back the screwball manic pixie dream girl comedy. No, we don't. No, we absolutely do not. Anybody who heard that, do not take that seriously. It's very rare that I point out that I'm goofing, but I gotta let you know that's a goof. Please don't bring that back. Well, luckily, the University of Colorado Boulder, right around the corner from you.
Go Buffaloes! They just got crushed this last weekend, but that's okay.
Are there buffaloes in Colorado?
Yeah. It's the land, lots of land under sunny skies above. Don't fence me in.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Is that the Texas song?
I don't know. What's the Colorado song? Are you doing a Colorado song?
I mean, I feel like Colorado is big and open, and there's like full on cowboys here.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not one of them, but not in the Denver metro area.
You thought about buying a hat?
No, I can't pull that off.
What about boots? You thought about buying boots?
I have boots. They're not cowboy boots.
What do you think's harder to pull off, the hat or the boots?
The hat, by far. Are you kidding? The boots is easy. Boots you can hide under pants, most of it.
Yeah. The thing that I don't like is when
on top.
When you try to hide cowboy boots under pants, though, when I've seen people do it, it's weird because it looks like you're hiding the fact that you're a magical little elf. Like you're trying to hide that you come from a magical fairy forest.
Yeah, because it is odd to hide them because they seem so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then you got to shove them under jeans, even boot.
The only
jeans.
point is to show them off, right? Yeah. Like, what other point is there?
And then they come.
Wait, I want to. Okay, go ahead.
No, they just come to this weird, like curled up point, and it looks like you just need like you're a cobbler, like you're you're an elf about to help a cobbler.
Like a house might fall on you in Oz.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you're not hiding those things. You might as well show them off.
I want to tell you a quick anecdote.
Yeah, sure.
This episode has been on point so far.
This is a science podcast. For taking it off.
Yeah. I don't want to put this kid on blast. So if you're hearing this and you're in the Colorado area, just skip forward a few seconds because I don't want to put a kid on blast.
No.
There is a kid at my children's school.
And what's this kid's name?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
And where do they live?
But yeah, I'm guessing around 11 years old, maybe even older. Not a small kid.
No,
like a growing up kid, older than my kids, but going to elementary school. And this is not just one time. This is multiple times. I have seen this kid dressed in boots, cowboy style boots.
Love it.
Jeans.
Yep.
A flannel shirt.
Perfect.
Tucked into the jeans.
Whoa, yeah.
Suspenders.
Okay.
A Newsies little hat. And full gardening gloves on their hands. Now,
no, we must protect this child. We must protect this child. I love this child.
I mean, who knows? There are a range of kids on the spectrum. Who knows what? I'm not judging this in the sense of wanting to shame this child.
No, I love this child.
Kudos to the parents for going for it. All I ask is, I want to know where this came from.
Yeah,
because what was the path to get to that look? The child looks like a 19th century gardener at some English cottage. Jeff,
I'm going to tell you what, I bet if you go in a little early on Monday, you will see somebody drop that kid off at school on a penny farthing.
That would be amazing.
You will see.
That would be amazing.
You will see somebody just pull up to the school with a bicycle that has a comically large and a comically small wheel, and they will drop that child off, and they will then doff their bowler hat to their own child, and then ride off as they play an accordion that's connected to a pair of cymbals behind their back. And then you'll be like, oh, that makes sense.
Now it all
comes
up.
together.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I love this. It's
incredible.
I love when kids go through this thing where they're like, I know what I should look like. Like, and particularly there's a first time that it happens, and it happens around when they're like 4 or 5 is like maybe the first time it happens, and they go, I want to look like this. This is what I want to wear. This is what I want to look like. And when parents lean into that and let it happen, fucking amazing things happen.
But like, did we evolve to this point? Did it come in fits and starts? Did we get, iterative adding to the look? Because I've seen this kid in that particular look multiple times, different variations on it, like not the same flannel shirt every time.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, I'll tell you this.
Come to that fully formed? Yeah. Was it like, I want this entire thing, or did it get cobbled together? I believe
it was fully formed in the child's head. Now, I'll tell you why. I went through a period when I was a kid that I really only wanted to wear a red and white striped shirt, red sneakers.
You were Where's Waldo?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But I was thinking like it was because of how much I loved like animation and comic books. And so everything I wore, like I was dressing like the main character from cartoons. Like
Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to look like a prototypical cartoon character. Like I wanted to look like the hero from children's cartoons. And so it was always like red high tops, red and white shirt. Like my backpack had to be a very specific backpack. Like I had to look the way this was in my head. And so I think kids get this idea, and it's like, this is the person I want to be. And the person I want to be, because I'm a kid, is associated with archetypes and specific looks.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really go away when you think about it, like all through your teens and 20s and even into adulthood, like you choose kind of a uniform to represent, particularly when you're in your teens and your 20s, you choose like, this is how I want to present myself to the world.
Right.
This is the kind of person I want you to look at me and know what kind of person I am just by looking at me. That's why
there's cliques in high school. It's because people like, I can imagine this kid at like 8 or 9 and his parents are watching Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to be that guy.
I'd like to think of this.
Groundskeeper?
Yeah.
Yes, the groundskeeper.
I want to think that this kid's like super into Over the Garden Wall.
Maybe that's
fall,
what it is.
It's the season, and I want to think that this kid is just super into early American folklore, legend, and horror.
Love it.
That's what I want to think. This is a science show. We're talking about how opposites attract.
The opposite of that kid would be attracted to him, right? That's we're back on topic.
That's what we're talking about. Opposites attract. So CU Boulder, go Buffalo.
Go Buffs. Yep.
Did a long study of more than 130 traits, including millions of couples over more than a century.
Whoa, that's a massive study.
This is one of those deep, deep data studies where they pulled from every old study they could, looking for, hey, do opposites actually attract?
Yeah. They call this the Skat Cat test.
They call this the old Skat Cat test. Romany Malco is listed as a co-author on this. I'm telling you, Romany Malco is in so many things.
He really is prolific.
It really is. This is called Evidence of Correlations Between Human Partners Based on Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analyses of 22 Traits and UK Biobank Analysis of 133 Traits. The most romantic name for a study there's ever been.
It rolls off the tongue.
This feels like
you
love.
say that, and then you go, "Are blue."
So they did this meta-analysis across 199 studies, including male, female co-parents, engaged pairs, married pairs, and cohabitating pairs. Oldest study conducted in 1903. Now they did not include same-sex couples in the research here, because the patterns
not opposite enough.
Huh?
They're not opposite enough.
That's what they said. They looked at it. They said, nope, too similar.
Same is right in the name. We can't.
It throws off the study. And they did not include time travelers who want to smooch themselves.
Well, that's just a missed opportunity.
Yeah. No.
So wait. Wow. How do they define opposite? I feel like that's a key part of the study.
First of all, I don't want to blow past this. I want to say that they didn't do it because they didn't include same-sex couples. Number one, because data doesn't go back that far for things like this.
Oh, yeah.
In the 100 so years ago, when we were running studies on same-sex couples, they were not cool studies. So that data is not okay. And then also patterns, there might differ significantly because cultural norms within that, because of societal pressure and because of other cultural stuff, might just be different. So they're going to run a separate study on that, and then they're going to compare the two, and then integrate it all into one large study. So opposites is basically, they looked into as many different traits as they could where they could find studies about opposites. So let's think about things like this. What could it be? It could be political attitudes. It could be religious attitudes. It could be level of education, but it could also be medical conditions. It could be physical traits, right? Do tall people like tall people? Do short people like short people?
Right. That's why I feel like this is so sprawling, because basically the definition of opposite, it defines which parameters are going to come into play here, because it could be like, oh yeah, we're total opposites because of one tiny little thing,
right? Instead
of, does there need to be,
so what they wanted to do,
it blows my mind. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So they do it math way. So the way they do it is they take all of these traits, they figure out, whether there's a positive or negative correlation, how much of a positive negative correlation there is between each of these traits. And then they gather all that together and figure out, on average, do opposites attract?
All right.
But it's fun to see like all the different things, because it's like they had to think about traits and figure and come up with pairs of traits. And I love that. Like, I want to see that whiteboard. I want to see the whiteboard of all the things that's like, well, is this really opposite? Is this like clear enough of an opposite that we can that we can figure these things out?
It's easy in binaries, if there are binaries like short and tall and political party affiliation and sort of things that are already sort of classified into binaries. But the more nebulous stuff, which is, I think, at the heart of what we talk about when we say opposites attract, like, the cleanly person to the neat or to the messy person, the sort of more nebulous, like, personality stuff that I don't think is binary all the time. Yeah.
And even when you think about political stuff, it's like, well, it's easy to say that you are, that you're left or right, or that you're, conservative or liberal. But then you have personal definitions of that. And then that, there's a political spectrum as well. So that kind of stuff is very, very interesting. So they went into a whole bunch of these, like whether they looked at chronotype, right? Whether somebody's a morning person or a night person. They looked at people's tendency to worry. They looked at hearing difficulty. Do people with different levels of different physical traits? Like, it's very, very interesting. So they looked into a lot of stuff to look for. One of my favorites is like neuroticism. Do people who trend as more neurotic tend to wind up with people who are neurotic? Right. I will tell you, based on my dating history, yes. Yes, we do. We try not to. So this is like, but even things like, they looked into age of first sexual intercourse, substance use habits.
Jeez.
They looked into all kinds of like, is this person a smoker? Are they a drinker? How heavy a drinker are they? And like, do heavy drinkers like to be with other heavy drink? Like, what does this all mean? Right. And for between 82 and 89% of the traits analyzed, everything. Do you think opposites attract?
I actually do think so.
Yeah,
I actually do. Yeah, I actually think they found that people tend to gravitate to people that aren't like them. Am I wrong?
Yeah, get a divorce lawyer, buddy, because it's not. It's not.
No, it's samesies?
Samesies.
Wow.
Samesies. They found that partners are more likely than not to be similar in just about all things.
Really?
Yeah. It's absolutely wild. So
I think, here's my theory on this. I think that as we cohabitate, as we try to maintain the dynamic of two individuals living a life together over a prolonged period of time, I think what happens is all the tiny differences are accentuated because those are the friction points, right? Those are the things that are most acute in your just day-to-day experience of living through that dynamic. And so you start to overemphasize the differences because you think to yourself, oh, that is I don't understand them because they think this way, and they don't understand me because I think the other way.
Right.
And instead of, because all of the other stuff is easy and smooth, you just don't really think about all the places that we sync up.
Yeah. Those are the things that just kind of, they slide by because it's going so nice and easy. And you don't even think about
obviously
it.
You think that way. I think that way. We don't need to discuss it because we're simpatico.
And you don't know, and also, our brains are constantly looking to find differences. We worry about differences. We worry about conflict. We worry about stuff like that. And so we're more trained to notice that sort of thing than to just sit back and be like, yeah, everything's chill.
That still makes sense. So that subjective feeling that opposites attract is because you're just hyper aware of all the places that you not perfectly in sync.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good theory. I like that.
Yeah. Can you send it to them for me?
I'll send it to them. I'll send it to Dr. Skat Cat.
Thanks.
Now, some of these showed some particularly high correlations. Some of the traits that showed very, very high correlations were political and religious attitudes.
That makes sense, right? Yeah. That's kind of comes to your fundamental belief and value system.
Yeah.
I think that's hard. It's hard to be with someone that doesn't share the same values you do.
Absolutely. Level of education.
That's just because most people meet in school.
Okay. And then certain measures of IQ.
Huh, like what?
Like
what measures?
How good it is. Measure of how good
I'm not
it
going
is.
I'm not going to be with a real smarty pants because I'm a real dummy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I don't want to feel dumb all the time.
Just specific IQ tests more than other IQ tests showed it.
Well, that's my favorite first date activity is, meeting up for an IQ test.
Yeah. I like to exchange LSATs.
Yeah.
I just like, hey, let's take a quick LSAT practice test just for fun. Let's just see.
Just to keep it casual,
just
right?
Fun,
because you
right?
don't want to put a lot of pressure on like a dinner or like a nighttime activity because then they feel like, oh, there's pressure at night. So like a brisk, like just a quick coffee and an LSAT, a quick.
Yeah. Just like a quick like bar exam in the state of Virginia. And then we can both practice law and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. What you do is you take them to a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, and then you bring your Mensa test.
You let them do the little peg test on the table, and if they leave more than 3 pegs, I have my friend call and excuse me, and I'm just I have to leave.
I think I've been setting my sights low because I've been doing the Denny's word jumble as my my go-to. The maze, the maze and the word jumble.
Yeah, I do. I see ham. Yeah, that's great.
Good. All right.
That's
Date 2 coming up.
The shortest word on the list. All right.
Wins over my hammy.
But I think this is very interesting because when you look at things like political religious attitudes, level of education, measures of IQ, I think that's things like that are very interesting. Things like, hey, income level. That's another one that's very interesting. Do people tend to wind up with people who come from similar financial backgrounds than they do, or economic backgrounds?
Unless you're a gold digger, am I right? I ain't messing with no broke. No,
sorry, don't do that. Don't do that. Because what happens is, as more and more of these sort of homogenous cultures get together, you're looking at creating further and further almost rifts in society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we compartmentalize.
We compartmentalize. And when you're compartmentalizing huge things like political, religious, level of education, IQ, things like that, you're creating large groups of people that think the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I just heard somebody that's been in the news lately. I just heard David Brooks talk about this, the sort of stratification of society where, ever since like the, post World War II era, you have, these people who, are of a certain level of income. They invest heavily in their kids' education. Those people go off to schools, meet their mates in those schools, invest heavily in their own kids' education. Yes. It's insular. And then all of a sudden you end up where we are now, which is everything is sort of, strata. There's these stratas of income disparity that have sort of organically been fostered by this system that's encouraged people to be more and more insular and more and more separated from each other. And I think you're right. It's because we're not attracted to opposites. We're in our little bubbles, and we're moving forward in our bubbles, and our bubbles get more and more, smaller and smaller.
And there's a thing of like you're saying, in a situation like that, are you being exposed to enough people that are different too? Like, that's another thing that this study has to sort of, it doesn't have to account for, but it's something that they brought up in their research, where they were like, hey, we can't explain the societal reasons for this. This is bigger. Those concerns are bigger than this study. We can tell you what's happening. The why is something that we're going to have to look into more and more and more. But you're right. I think something like that is, you're only exposed to people who are like you. Yeah. Well, who are you going to end up with? People who are like you. Now, in some other traits that showed high correlations, substance abuse shows heavy correlation. Now, substance use and abuse. I don't just want to say abuse. I want to say use as well. So substance use, like things like heavy smokers tend to wind up with smokers, right? And that's another thing that makes sense, right? Because somebody who isn't a heavy smoker doesn't want to live with a smoker, doesn't want to date a smoker, because it's like, get your smoke out of my face. But also heavy drinkers, people who are sober tend to wind up with other people who are sober. And that socially, I think, makes a lot of sense to me, but not as much sense. And that's why I think it's okay that these things they're correlated, but they're not as strongly correlated. Because I rarely drink, but I could be with somebody who goes out and has a drink. I couldn't be with somebody who drinks all the time, like a college kid or something. Right. Well, that's hard, right? Because you have to be synced up with your sort of free time and social. Yeah. What's your idea of fun? What do you want to do? How do you want to spend your time? Like, that's just not how I want to spend my time. So what I did was I married someone who loved to have fun like that, and then I just leached it out of her. Yeah.
soaked up all of her desire to have fun, and now she just sits at home all the time with me.
Yeah.
And
what
I
did
do.
so that energy didn't transfer to anyone else. You simply, when you say leech, it's less like you took it from her and more like just you removed it from the equation.
Yes, I maybe a better word is I killed it.
Yeah, you killed her fun.
Suffocated it. Yeah, I suffocated in the bed.
You took a beautiful, energetic, fun-loving person,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and turned them into just a boring you.
Yes.
First of all, Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
That's the dream, buddy. That's the part of the end of that's the end of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl movie they don't show you, is like when they do get together, and just slowly over time he turns her into somebody who sits at home and listens to NPR with him.
Yep. Yeah. And she can barely even remember the life she used to have when she was so fun and vivacious and full of life and dreams.
These are Aaron. These are jokes.
She doesn't listen.
Okay, but I know like your moms listen.
Oh, my mom definitely listens.
I know your mom's listening. I don't want them to think that
she knows.
Okay,
she knows. She's on Aaron's side. Believe me.
Oh, okay. So she knows that when we say it's a joke that we're lying.
Yes.
Okay, good. You said we're doing that just to cover your public persona. She knows that, right?
She knows. She's aware of that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, some of these other ones that showed far smaller correlations, but still showed correlations, are things like height and weight.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
And medical conditions, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a level of support system perhaps there of understanding what is needed in those situations and sort of teaming up to handle, I think, those kind of difficulties in life. I think that makes sense.
But I think also difficulties in life, like differences in height.
No, I was saying health conditions.
But I think this is interesting because I almost expected height not to correlate because culturally, I think there's a thing where there's a particularly in the recent past, less and less as time goes on. But I think there's been a correlation of taller man, shorter woman. That's the dream.
Well, especially
that's
you
the
and
pop
I both
culture dream. Right.
Yeah. And you and I both grew up reading the Ripley's Believe It or Not book, where the world's tallest man married the world's shortest woman. And,
yes. And we looked at that and we went, I want that.
That's love.
I want to dress like a cartoon character. And I want to be I know exactly what I want to dress like. And I know exactly the kind of relationship I want to be in. I want to be the world's tallest man with the world's longest fingernails.
There's curly
fingernails. I don't want to marry the world's smallest woman.
Yeah.
Who rides a unicycle. And I think culturally there's that sort of thing. With the medical conditions, I think that's interesting because, well, number one, a lot of medical conditions we think of as things that pop up, right? And particularly pop up more and more later on in life. So to me, it makes sense that people who sort of couple up, when you couple up, there are probably fewer medical conditions at play.
Yeah.
But also I think that medical conditions are the sort of thing that come up after a few dates when you already know whether you like somebody, and they don't.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They don't really like, I'm not going to sit down. I mean, listen, of course we're going to do the LSATs. And of course we're going to of course we're going to do a blood test, but we're not going to get those results back.
Yeah. Until like second date.
Right. And those don't tell a whole story, no. To tell a whole story, like I like second or third date to go and like get like a sample of bone marrow. Like, is it painful? Yes. Does it take a long time? Yes. But that's how you truly learn about somebody.
Sure.
But also I think like, it's one of those things where it comes up where it's like, oh yeah, I take this medication for this, or you get I remember with one of my old partners, we went out a couple times, and then like on the third date, an inhaler came out, right?
Yeah.
Because why would you bring it? Like, it wasn't something that she was hiding, and it wasn't something that she needed to tell me about.
So it took that long for you to take her breath away? Is that what you're saying?
No, it wasn't me. I think we saw like a cool dog.
Was it MC Skat Cat?
Oh man, no, thank goodness no, because like she would need the emergency inhaler for that. And that one she usually keeps at home. Yeah, I think it was just like a really cool dog, man, and we were both like, ah.
Yeah, fair.
Now some of the ones that showed like very little correlation, but still showed some correlation, were things like extroversion. Introverts and extroverts. They have these theories that like everybody has like very strong opinions on this. Yeah. People have very strong opinions on whether introverts want to be with other introverts or whether they want to be with extroverts and vice versa. And what's the best one to be with and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, according to this study, they said it's like flipping a coin.
Really?
It's honestly one of the least correlated things.
That's so fascinating. I would not have guessed that. I really would have guessed that would be one of the things that, because there's only so much spotlight, you know?
Right.
And usually if one person's soaking it all up, the other person, they need somebody that doesn't need the spotlight.
Yeah, but extroversion, but I think there's a thing where pop culture and the internet, I think we talked about this just like an episode or two ago, where like the entire internet got obsessed with introvert versus extrovert. And that was like the whole world for a while. Yeah. And extrovert doesn't mean they need the spotlight. Extrovert just means they need to be around people and be active socially.
Right.
And I think that we put pop culture, put such and social media put such a thing onto extrovert versus introvert that we began to believe it's like a huge trait, but it probably isn't that big a deal.
Well, clearly this study seems to support that theory.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make much difference. But
now,
I'm surprised.
Now, the 3 traits, Jeff, that do find opposites attract. Are you ready? Now,
I'm ready.
These are not strong. These are not like strong opposites, but they did find a small negative correlation here.
Okay.
Turns out morning people like to be with night people.
That tracks in my marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a night person. My wife is a morning person very strongly.
Let me tell you something. A little peek behind the curtain here. For the stuff on my roof that we've been talking about, you probably heard us if you listen to the show. It's still happening. We still have to get together and do this show like way earlier than we normally would want to, and we both hate it. We both hate it so much.
It's not
every week.
Great.
I get a text from Jeff. He's like, "Do we still have to do 7?" And it makes me feel bad because I'm just like, man, it's not my fault. But Jeff's like, do we still have to do 7? And it's like, I'm not your dad, dude. I'm not making you get up at 7. It's not me.
Well, it's because 7 a.m. is the comedy hour. They call that the comedy hour when everyone's funniest.
I'm at my sharpest. I'm firing on all cylinders. But no, it turns out that they call it morning larks and night owls.
I like it.
Morning larks and night owls like to be together. I don't know why. They don't know why. But
that's what I always told my wife of our first date. I said, you have to tell me if you're a lark. If you're a lark, you have to tell me.
You have to tell me. Otherwise, it's entrapment.
Are you a lark?
Now, here's one that might ring very true to you, Jeff. Opposites attract in tendency to worry.
That is also 100% my relationship. I am easy breezy cover girl. My wife is the worrier, the thinking you're ahead or I think that's
somebody, somebody needs to be concerned about things and somebody needs to know when to chill out,
just skating through life without a care in the world. And,
well, it's important to be like, okay, well, is that something we really need to worry about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like the person could then be like, yes. Dummy. That could go either way.
Yeah.
And then the third one is hearing difficulty. Turns out if both people in the couple can't hear, it makes for bad communication.
Well, my wife tells me I can't hear her all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, that's that different study. Did we cover that one where as you get older and you're in a relationship longer, your brain starts to filter the frequency of your partner's voice?
Yeah. Yeah.
The actual frequency
for me. What's that old joke? My wife says I don't listen to her or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
We're really paying attention.
Folks, come for the science. Stay for Jeff's honeymooners Flintstones-esque insights about marriage every week.
This podcast plays great in the Catskills.
It plays great in the Catskills when we send the radio signal back through time. So like the authors kind of note here that even in situations where we feel like we have a choice about our relationships, there are probably mechanisms happening behind the scenes which we aren't fully aware of. Right? There are things that people don't even think about, that don't even know about themselves or would even bring up necessarily in the beginning of a relationship or at all, that caused correlation they found. And listen, correlation, not causation, but they found it.
Right.
One of them is like whether people had been breastfed as a child.
I always bring that up right at the beginning.
I was like, hey, finish your LSAT. It's a good
conversation starter.
And when you're finished with your LSAT, tell me about your breastfeeding history. Hurry up, because the bone marrow lab closes at 9. I'm a fun date.
You are.
I'm a fun date. Sometimes I see cool dogs. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
No, sounds great.
So they said there are things like how many sexual partners a person had before people got together became sort of a thing, whether they had discussed it or not. It showed some correlation, right? The trait that was most likely to be similar, Jeff, out of all traits they studied, birth year.
Eye color. Birth year. Yeah, I mean that seems an intuition I would come to. You're dating in your age range. You're hanging around people your own age. You're in social circles with people your own age. You're going to school with people your own age. Oh, that makes sense.
Particularly if you're going back in these studies hundreds of years, or 100 years. Let's talk about those school sweethearts, meeting somebody in high school or in college or whatever, and getting married.
That's how you find a mate, is the social situations you're in with your peers.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. So they also showed that the strength of correlations for traits drifted across populations, and they're likely to change over time. This is 100 years of study, but culture changes and society changes. Well, I wonder if you made a demarcation line of data before the advent of the internet and after the advent of the internet, if you would find a big swing. I imagine with the introduction of dating apps and websites and services that allow you to sample potential partners outside of your social circles. Yeah. That was one of the things that I noticed in the time that I was doing that kind of stuff, is that I was meeting people I would never have met. Yeah. And I think that is the first time in human history that we have this tool that allows you to, have potential romantic partners that you wouldn't just run into in your normal day-to-day life. Yeah, absolutely. And above and beyond that, you talk about the internet is such a huge demarcating line. Let's think about all of the demarcating lines in the early 20th century, right? Let's talk about everything that happened in civil rights, in women's rights, in all kinds of political change, all of these things that happened with immigration. It feels like maybe using 100 years of data actually skews it. Yeah, it could, right? Because it's massive. The data that you find in every decade, I think, is going to change when it comes to certain things that science would call traits that are huge social changes and social norms and societal norms. Well, particularly because mating and courting and all that stuff is so tied to societal, social, cultural, trends. I feel like this in particular is a study that's susceptible to that kind of bias, because it's like, the way we interact, the way that young people are interacting today compared to 100 years ago is night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. And the researchers here want to caution not just against stuff like that, like socioeconomic changes and things like that, but they also want to say that, like, hey, number one, the strength of these correlations didn't just differ across populations in time. We need to take a look at the fact that these correlations are pretty modest, and we shouldn't overstate them or misuse them to promote agendas, right? Even when we say things like, when we're talking about like people that get together that are like the other people, like when we talk about things like that, I start to feel a little icky, even saying it or suggesting it. And things like
we use our data for the bad stuff.
Right. This is like, this whole thing is called assortative mating, right? The idea that, you look for mates that are like yourself. And that sort of research is like, has been very co-opted by like the eugenics movement. And that's something that the authors really want to make sure it's like, hey, this does not prove that stuff. If you see this stuff on like, one of those other, one of the other sides of podcasting, you know what I mean? Like, don't think that this is such a strong thing. And also remember that this is just mathematics. This is just data, like the actual data. And they're hoping that this study is going to spark more research across economics, sociology, anthropology, psychology. Like, we've given you the correlation data. We went through and we analyzed the data. Now let's have you search for the reasons why.
Right.
Because we can only guess at this point.
It's like we need a break. It's a lot. We did a lot.
I had to learn Python to do all this. I had to look at so many spreadsheets.
You have to do some of it at this point.
We loosened the jar. And now the other scientists have to open the lid.
Yeah.
Is what they said.
We're not going to do it all for you.
No, God, no. I think this is very interesting. And I think what it says is kind of what we were talking about in the beginning is like, yeah, I think some things need to be the same, but some things could be different. Like it's come right back to where we started, Jeff, which is the heart wants what it wants. And there's no way of knowing.
It's a beautiful mini splendid thing.
That's what they say. And to get your dogs and cats checked and neutered.
Check to see if they're possibly animated rappers.
Yeah.
You never know what your cat might be.
If they have a talent for music, encourage it, nurture it.
That's right.
There's nothing in the rules that says a cat can't record a hip hop album. Let us know what you think about this, and if you think opposites attract. A great place to do that would be over on the Discord.
Yeah, our Discord is exclusive to patrons, but it doesn't cost a lot. Only $1 per calendar month, which is so little. You can support the show. It's really the only way we get to keep making these is the support at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. For $1 a month, you get into that Discord. You get to hang out with cool folks. You get to see all the stories that we perhaps didn't get to talk about on the main show. People are submitting stories all the time. Lots of really cool topics there. But for a little more, you get more stuff. You get extra videos, more content, extra episodes, behind the scenes. Check it out, patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.